How long has it been since I put out an NFL video? Uh, Too long. What's up, everybody? Well, back to NFL content, and today I've decided that I would like to rank every starting quarterback going into 2024. Now, it is not a guarantee that these quarterbacks will win their starting job, but it seems likely that to start the season, these will be the week one starters at quarterback. And so, let's rank them from worst to best. Number 32, Daniel Jones. I'm sorry, Daniel Jones, but at the time of this recording, you've had only one good season under your belt and have been below average at best, other than that. And I don't think that it's likely that you're going to be a starter past this season. And I'm surprised that they have kept him around for this long because he has not been a consistent starting quarterback. Number 31, Derek Carr. Derek Carr has some character issues now, and he is just not the guy anymore for these New Orleans Saints. And I like that the Saints drafted Spencer Rattler because even though he also has some character issues, he has a bunch of upside and could easily take the starting job from Derek Carr. And apart from my bias, I would like to see that because Derek Carr is mediocre at best. Number 30, Bryce Young. With Bryce Young, I think that he's in a really bad situation in Carolina, but I do expect him to improve in 2024, but not enough to get them out of the first overall pick because that defense is absolutely abysmal. And while they upgraded the offense, I don't think it will be enough to ultimately win them that many games. But they do have a pretty easy schedule, so they possibly could get a 7-win season if their offense is really good enough. But with Bryce Young, I think he has a lot of potential, but he just has to live up to that potential. And last year, he absolutely didn't. And I hope that he does live up to his potential and becomes the Panthers franchise quarterback, but so far it isn't looking likely. Number 29, Deshaun Watson. What a fall off for Deshaun Watson. He got into a bunch of off the field issues that have turned him into one of the most hated NFL players overnight. And since then, his play on the field has been mediocre at best, when he's on the field, that is, as he has constantly gone through suspensions and injuries, and it's just a rough situation for Watson, who will probably never put himself in the elite quarterbacks conversation ever again. And I think the Browns should be hoping to get out of the Deshaun Watson contract as soon as they can because it's truly abysmal. Number 28, Will Levis. Again, with these second year quarterbacks who are unproven, I think Will Levis is the same case as Bryce Young, where last year he had a really bad supporting cast around him. But I think this year he should improve a lot more than Bryce Young because Will Levis got a bunch of talent put around him. He got Calvin Ridley, he got Tony Pollard, lost Derrick Henry, and they even improved the defense, bringing in L'Jarius Sneed. He should improve big time this year, and the Titans should push for a playoff appearance. Do I think they will get a playoff appearance? No, but I do think they will try at least. Number 27, Geno Smith. Geno was never an elite quarterback like a lot of people thought he was after his renaissance last year. But I think at this point in his career, he is a solid backup quarterback and maybe a capable starter. And I think that's where he is right now. He is a capable starter for the Seattle Seahawks, but I think he is a bridge option for this team, and they will probably end up moving on from him in favor of a younger quarterback next year. Number 26, Anthony Richardson. I know a lot of people are probably going to hate me for putting Anthony Richardson in the bottom 10 of the league, but I think he is not a proven quarterback. He played a total of 4 games last year, which were riddled by injuries, and while he did play well in those 4 games, the question for Richardson is, can he stay healthy? And if he does, I think he can be a really good quarterback in this league. But that is the big question with Richardson, is can he stay healthy in a very, very physical NFL? Number 25, Gardner Minshew. You could make a case for Aiden O'Connell to be the starter for the Raiders, but I just think that in every aspect, Gardner Minshew is the better quarterback. He's the player that the teammates like better. He's the quarterback that everyone can rally around, as you saw from the Colts last season. And I think overall, Gardner Minshew is a fan favorite, and I think he will continue to be a quality starter or journeyman backup for several years to come until he eventually hangs up the cleats. And when he does, I think everyone will be sad. But for this year, I think he's in a really good situation with the Raiders. He can prove that he is a long term guy for this Raiders team, and he can ultimately prove that he can take advantage of all of the supporting cast members that he has around him, like Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. And I think that he has a really good chance of proving himself worthy of a long term extension from the Raiders or some other team. Number 24, JJ McCarthy. Call it my bias if you want against the Vikings, but I personally think that JJ McCarthy has the most concerns of all of the rookie quarterbacks. I think of all the rookie quarterbacks, JJ McCarthy has the highest bust potential because he got not a lot of development during his college days, meaning that NFL quarterbacks will have to do most of the work in his development because during college, he kind of got used to the game manager feel, and you can't really get that feel when you are a professional quarterback. You see quarterbacks like Ryan Tannehill flop because they were more of game managers than anything else. And I think it's the same thing with McCarthy. And I also don't hope that he turns the Vikings franchise around, so that might be another reason. Number 23, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson did improve a lot last year, but not enough for Denver as they moved on from him, taking on the biggest dead money cap in NFL history at $85 million, which was no problem for the Steelers, who picked him up on a 1 year deal. And I think you could probably make a case that Justin Fields is the better quarterback, and I think so too, but it seems more likely that Russell Wilson is going to win the starting job. And I don't know about Russell Wilson. I really don't. I think that there is a high likelihood that he is out of the league after this year. And I think that Justin Fields will ultimately prove himself the better quarterback come the end of the season. But Russell Wilson might stay in the league as a quality journeyman backup. But I think it is highly likely that he's playing out his final year in the NFL. Number 22, Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is still a really good quarterback, and apart from my Lions bias, I still think that he is a really good quarterback in the NFL. But he is getting up there in age and is nowhere close to a top 20 quarterback anymore. And I think that Matthew Stafford will still be the quarterback of this Rams team for the next 2 to 3 years, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams decided to draft a quarterback sooner rather than later. Number 21, Bo Nix. I'm high on Bo Nix. I think that he could be a really, really good franchise quarterback for this Broncos team for the next 5 to 10 years. I think that because Bo Nix has a really similar skill set to Drew Brees, who Sean Payton previously worked with. And I think that Sean Payton will come to love Bo Nix over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. And who knows, maybe they'll return to the playoffs eventually. Number 20, Aaron Rodgers. With Aaron Rodgers, I don't think that he's at the peak of his prime anymore. I think he's in the later half of his career, if at all the later half of his career. I think that he's probably only going to last 2 or 3 years in New York, and I'm just not confident that he's going to be the long-term answer for this Jets team. I'm sorry, I think this is another flop for the Jets, but Aaron Rodgers will still be a solid quarterback for the next 2 to 3 years for this Jets team that should help them capitalize on their pretty good roster. Number 19, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is interesting because he's pretty much the exact same player that Aaron Rodgers is. But I picked him over Rodgers because Cousins is a younger quarterback than Aaron Rodgers by about 4 or 5 years. And I think Kirk Cousins still has a lot left in the tank, whereas Rodgers does not. And he's coming off of a torn Achilles like Rodgers, which makes me understand the Penix pick a little bit more, but that pick is still not good, don't get me wrong. I'm just not super confident that Kirk Cousins will stay healthy. But he could absolutely stay healthy and be the Falcons' quote unquote franchise quarterback for the next 4 years. Number 18, Drake May. Drake May is, in my opinion, one of the better rookie quarterback prospects. And I think that he has a really good future ahead of him as long as the Patriots regime does not screw him up like they screwed up Mac Jones. And that is my really biggest concern with Drake May is, can the Patriots not screw him up and build an actual team around him? Their defense is pretty good, and I think if they can capitalize on May's skill sets, they could be a really good AFC team. Number 17, Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has to, and I mean has to, be the franchise quarterback for the Bears. This team has shuffled through 3 quarterbacks over the last 4-10 years, and it's got to stop at some point, right? Somebody's got to prove themselves to be the franchise QB of this dysfunctional team that can't draft any quarterbacks, right? And with Caleb Williams, he has to be a good quarterback. He has 3 wide receivers that should all be really good this year. He has a really good defense. This team is in win now mode with him at quarterback. And they absolutely have to go out and at least make the playoffs, or else they are a disappointment. Number 16, Jaden Daniels. Of all of the rookie quarterbacks, I think Jaden Daniels is the most likely to succeed because, in my opinion, he has the most upside and is the safest bet to succeed. And I think the only thing that is holding Jaden Daniels back from being a true superstar in this league is the fact that he plays for Washington. And this is an organization that is known for screwing players up ever since 1999 when Snyder took over. FedEx Field ruined players like RG3 and countless others that I can't think of right now. I just hope that Jaden Daniels does not turn out to become RG3, where he is riddled by injuries and is just destroyed by a dysfunctional organization. But if that doesn't happen, I think Jaden Daniels should be a really good quarterback in this league. With players at his side like Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, a defense that is really good, that probably will need some retooling, but is still really good overall. I think this team is in win now mode like the Bears with their quarterback. And for them, I think Jaden Daniels is a really easy bet to succeed. Number 15, Kyler Murray. This is probably too high for Murray, but I think I put him above all of the rookie quarterbacks because he has more experience than all of them. And he proved last year that he is still a capable starting quarterback and a capable franchise quarterback. And I think a lot of people are overlooking Kyler Murray, and for good reason, but I think I love Kyler Murray. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks currently in the NFL, and I've been watching his story since college. But I do genuinely think that Kyler Murray is in a good spot to succeed here in Arizona. I think this team could be really sneaky good next year with having a new WR1 to throw to, hopefully, in Marvin Harrison Jr., Darius Robinson to improve the defensive line, and yeah, it's a really good situation for Murray. Number 14, Baker Mayfield. Ah, how nice that we put the two Oklahoma Sooners Heisman Trophy winners back to back. I think with Baker Mayfield, I put him higher because his success as a quarterback has come more recently. And in as opposed to Kyler Murray, who had solid but not great numbers, Baker Mayfield had borderline top 10 numbers last year. And so he gets a top 14 spot opposed from Baker Mayfield's counterpart in Kyler Murray. Number 13, Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence probably should be higher at this point and has probably not lived up to his massive hype coming out of college. But I still think that Trevor Lawrence is easily a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. This is because he has constantly proved time and time again that he can be the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise QB and has stepped up to the plate when he needs them. Well, most of the time. As you saw by their 2022 playoff run, he really can take them to the next level. And I think that's what they're going to try to do in 2024 is they try to reach the elite category. Number 12, Tua Tagovailoa. I put Tua over Trevor Lawrence because even though Trevor Lawrence has had more overall success than Tua, I think for this team, Tua has put up monster numbers over the last couple of seasons. And because of that, I put him above Trevor Lawrence for his monster numbers, even though he's probably supported by a really good supporting cast. I still think that he is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Maybe not a top 10 quarterback, but something pretty close to one. Number 11, Jordan Love. I'm not putting him as a top 10 quarterback yet because he had some inconsistencies during that first half of the 2023 season, but I will admit they were pretty good last year, at least down the stretch of that season. They really came together beating the Chiefs, stupid Thanksgiving, and a bunch of other teams to squeak into the playoffs. And they even beat the Dallas Cowboys, and a lot of that was because Jordan Love played well. He led the league in passing touchdowns, I believe, and that does say a lot. But I'm not going to put him in the top 10 until he has a full, consistent season. Number 10, Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert has been putting up elite numbers on a mediocre to terrible Chargers team for years. And for that, I have to applaud him because they still have zero playoff wins in his time with this Chargers team. And he earned that contract that at the time broke the record for money spent on a quarterback per year. But I think that Justin Herbert is probably going to end up being this team's quarterback for years to come. And I don't know how Harbaugh is going to utilize him. Herbert has been playing really well. And the fact that Harbaugh probably won't use him in this rush-heavy offense will probably upset fans. Number 9, Brock Purdy. I think for me, the reason Brock Purdy is in the top 10 is because he has been putting up elite numbers ever since coming into the league. And he has just been, along with the rest of his team, just a model of consistency so far. Obviously, he's had his off games, like against the Vikings, Browns, and Bengals stretch last year. But I think so far, he has had a really good run, and they've beaten some really good teams and proven that they are undoubtedly the best team in the NFC. The Lions could probably catch up, and the Eagles are probably not far behind either, but I think the 49ers are still the best team in the NFC, and that has to do with Brock Purdy's play. You need a really good quarterback, and Brock Purdy came onto the scene in 2022 and played really well and earned that starting job. And I think he will only continue to get better and be the franchise quarterback for the Niners for the next 10 years or so. Number 8, Jared Goff. Jared Goff got a huge extension, and it was worth it. He's now the second highest paid quarterback, even though I said he was the highest paid quarterback. I was about $30 million off there. But Jared Goff is a top 10 quarterback, and I think he earned that contract. He has played really well ever since coming to Detroit, and has played like a top 10 quarterback, thus earning this spot. And so that's really my opinion on Goff, is that he deserves the contract that he got. Maybe it was an overpay, but I think that Jared Goff has played elite for the past 2 or 3 seasons with Detroit. And yeah. Number 7, Dak Prescott. I think with Dak Prescott, he gets a lot of hate from the media because he plays for Dallas, and rightfully so. That team is definitely hateable. And I think that you could probably argue that he should be lower also because he doesn't have that much playoff success. But I don't think that it's entirely on Dak Prescott that his team collapses every single January. I mean, it has to be a team effort that your team ultimately collapses at the end of the season. I mean, this wild card game against the Packers was a great example. The defense was awful, the offense was awful, and that's not entirely on Prescott. Number 6, Josh Allen. Josh Allen is easily a top 10 quarterback, and I think you could argue that he is a top 5 quarterback. But I think we need to see how he fares without Stephon Diggs first, because Stephon Diggs is easily a top 5 wide receiver. And I do think that Keon Coleman is going to be a really good receiver, but I don't think he's going to be Stephon Diggs level. And for Josh Allen, he can easily carry these Bills to a division title, and I think they will, especially looking at their schedule. Number 5, Jalen Hurts. I think with Jalen Hurts, I put him in the top 5 because of his dual threat ability that is similar to Lamar Jackson, and he is easily, without a doubt, the number 1 quarterback in the NFC. I don't think that anyone in the NFC even comes close. Love is relatively close, so is Goff and Purdy and Prescott, but I think that Hurts is easily the best quarterback in the NFC, And that's because of his dual threat ability, the way that he manages that Eagles offense, and yeah, that contract he got last year was well deserved. Number 4, CJ Stroud. This is probably way too high for the second year quarterback, but in my opinion, Stroud is already cementing himself as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL with his absurd 2023 season, which he won Offensive Rookie of the Year, won multiple records, and won a playoff game for this Texans team that has been struggling these past 5 years. And I think this Texans team has a very bright future and could absolutely contend for a Super Bowl this year. And Stroud is the main reason for that. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson could easily be number 2 because he has 2 MVPs to show for, and when he's healthy, he is a top 5 quarterback in the game, no questions asked. His mobility has revolutionized the game, and he has continued to grow as a passer since his rookie year, and he's easily going to be a top 5 quarterback for years to come. Number 2, Joe Burrow. You could argue that Jackson should be 2 instead of Burrow, but for me personally, I think the lack of playoff success for Jackson is the only reason Burrow gets the number 2 spot. Burrow has been absolutely perfection since entering the league since his rookie year when he's healthy. He is the only quarterback who can go toe to toe with Mahomes and win. Speaking of which, and everyone knew this was coming, number 1, Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, he is unquestionably the best quarterback with 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. But what would you change about this list? I know that you would change some stuff, so let me know down in the comments what you would change. What were some players that were too high or too low? And with that, peace!